So welcome. Today is Monday, September 25th. This is Writing 235, Section 1 at the University of Rhode Island. I'm Frank Romanelli, and we're here today to talk about creating a blog, our second project for the class, and really our first major project. And today we have the honor of having a guest speaker, a blog creator and digital author, Kristen Hubbard, who's going to take over for me in a couple of minutes. But before that, I just wanted to go over some things and see if you had any questions about anything. Right now, you're looking at my screen. I brought up the actual assignment on Sakai, which opened up yesterday. You can also note, if you haven't looked at it since it opened, last night I added a few more links. And they're the links that Kristen told me she's going to be using today so that you can refer to those afterwards if you want to. She'll be showing you things on her screen during the presentation, and then you'll have them there to follow up. Let me get off my screen, turn it over to Kristen. It's all yours, Kristen.
All right, thank you. Well, hey guys, thank you for letting me be your guest speaker today. When Frank asked me, I was excited and honored because I never really get to talk about blogging as much. I talk a lot about like coaching and things like that, but my first passion is writing. So this is kind of exciting. So right now, I wanted to start with a little bit before the blog, just to kind of let you guys have an idea of where I was coming from. I've been a writer my whole life. I was wrote poetry when I was younger, like 9, 10, 11, and then I started writing songs. And then as I grew older, I started writing personal narratives and short stories to start reaching people. But it wasn't until, I'm 31 now, I guess it wasn't until I was 27, 28 years old that I actually decided to launch my first blog, which is what you're looking at on the screen right now. And that, if I scroll all the way down, which is a little bit of ways, was February 19th of 2015. So the reason I started this blog, and just to give you background of what I do, I was in nutritional therapy school and we had to do a community outreach project. And I was becoming a nutritional therapy practitioner. I thought, what a great way for me or an excuse for me to launch my blog and start talking about food and nutrition and also mindset, which is really my main passion. And so I started this on WordPress, which is I looked at the links that you guys use, and I think Frank mentioned WordPress, but it's super user-friendly. I was able to get a site up and running for free within an hour or two, and I named it Design to Thrive Wellness, which was going to be the name of my business, which never actually happened, but that's what the blog name was going to be. And so I started writing, and I had kind of a dual approach to it. I wrote about food and nutrition, but I also wrote about mindset and lifestyle and things that hold us back mentally and things that get in our way from living the lives that we want to live. And what I found with this was the more that I posted, first of all, the more that I posted, the more people were kind of coming and talking to me. But the more I posted about the mindset stuff, that was really when I started to gain traction and have people sending me messages or emails and things of that nature. And so the first thing I learned about blogging was the more consistent, because something blog world and in this world that we call the know, like, trust factor. And people need to get to know you, they need to get to like you, and they need to trust you. And so this was what I used in the beginning. As you can see, that there was recipes in here and things of that nature. And I used it for my community outreach project, and I got an A on that. So that was really exciting, and I was able to graduate. But once that project was over, I kind of, I just shifted more to the mindset things and the things that I wanted to write in that way. But what I found when I was blogging on WordPress and just WordPress was I was having a hard time leveraging the actual platform, and I wasn't getting enough people to read what I wanted them to read. And so this is where I kind of started to learn how to use social media to get my work out there in a way that reached more people. And so I just pulled up my Instagram page, which currently has 717 posts. So I started really doing this a year and a half to 2 years ago. And so that's almost about a post a day. And what I do on here is I do my shorter blogs, shorter snippets and thoughts, and then I will link, just like you see right here, I will link to my actual blog. So if people read the they'll read just a little blurb from it. And if they like it, it'll link them to the website, and then they can go and read the blog. And that was a way that I found to get more people viewing my work in a shorter amount of time. And what I found was people have a short attention span, so it was good to be able to throw the shorter stuff in here, grab their attention, and then get them going back to the blog. But as I said with that, it was just about consistency. It was about getting in front of people on a daily basis and keeping them engaged. And so over that time, as I began to post on Instagram, I wanted to talk about using social media as a way to get out there as a writer and as a blogger. And I don't know what you guys are blogging about, or what your passions are, or what you really want to get out of it. But I started, as I'm sure you know, Instagram is full of like-minded people. All you have to do is look for the right hashtag. So I started finding people who aligned with what I was looking to do. And I found a woman named Lauren Rudick, who is an international yoga teacher. But she kind of did the same style writing that I did, and we connected. And she was actually helping me out. She was coaching me a little bit on what to do with my social media and my writing. So I launched a new blog called KristenHubbard.com that you guys were linked to at KristenHubbard.com. That's brand new as of last week. So I just merged everything from there. This was not the blog that I initially launched. This is a bit more clean than that one. But so I just started blogging on a new platform. And when I was working with Lauren, she runs an international yoga academy where they host retreats. And she asked me, she said, so you want to be a writer? Would you be willing to write an article about nutrition for me? And so I wrote a blog post for her called 5 Ways to Eat Healthy Anywhere in the World. And that was my first published piece. So that was published on the Yoga Academy International page, and the first time that somebody else had asked me to write for them, which was really a cool thing, just being kind of a nobody blogger to get recognition. And that's when more people started coming to my blog. I started getting more emails and things of that nature. And she also connected me to an editor at Dysfunction Magazine, which is a print magazine. I do have the print one right here just to show you guys. It's a print magazine and an online magazine. And she had me and the editor connect, and I contributed to, or I just sent one of my pieces that was actually an old blog post that I had written to the editor, and she loved it. And so she asked me to start writing on a regular basis for that magazine. And so I started writing for them, Dysfunction Magazine, and the first piece they asked me to write was actually, it was called I Spread Love Like Mother Teresa for a Day. So that was just, somebody gave me a prompt, and I kind of had to run with it and do what I thought was necessary, which was a really cool concept for me, because as a blogger and a writer, I just take inspiration from like pictures I take or the life around me. And so this was somebody telling me, they were giving me an assignment, and it was a great way to kind of hone my craft as a writer as well. And so once I wrote for their online magazine, this is the print one. I can't see myself, but I imagine you guys can see this. This was my first printed article, which was, it was not my normal style. It was interviewing Nor Black Nor White, who are, they're a fashion company. But it got my name in print, which was a really exciting thing. So from going to starting your own WordPress blog to that was a pretty big leap. So once that happened, other blogs started reaching out to me. I also write for a blog called identityclass.com, which I didn't throw in the links there, but that is, I contribute about once a month. Now that I'm a little bit busier, I'm doing once every couple months for them. But so just writing things that align with their mission. And then I'm trying to write things that align with my mission. So back to my blog page, trying to stay current with my blog, trying to constantly stay in front of the eyes of the people that I want to reach has been really important for me. And also getting my message out there. So recently, I wanted to talk about this. So this was because when you're blogging, you're kind of always, you're writing, you can post whatever you want. Nobody's telling you what you can and can't do, which is really exciting, because when you're writing for editors and things like that, you have rules that you need to follow. Part of my message and part of my evolution as a writer has been becoming more and more vulnerable with my writing. And so in August, I wrote a blog piece for my blog called The Truth Can't Set Us Free If We Don't Set It Free First. And I published it on my own personal blog. I got a lot of people talking about it. They were reaching out to me. They were commenting. They were telling me it was one of the best pieces I had ever written. And so I was really excited because Elephant Journal is an online blog and platform. I don't know if you guys know it or you guys read it, but I consider it to be like the Huffington Post of spirituality. And so I thought the piece was really good, and I'd submitted pieces to Elephant Journal, 7 previous pieces, and got rejected every single time by them. And I decided that even though I had posted this on my blog, I was going to submit it to this publication, and they accepted it and posted it. And so as a blogger, as you can see, it has around 384 shares, and it has over 2,500 views. So that was, at this point, that's been my largest visibility for people to see my writing. And this was just written about an experience that I went through. I went through a divorce last year. Again, with the vulnerability and putting myself out there, that's kind of the message that I've been able to convey to people, and the way that my blog has kind of taken off in my career as an online author and writer has taken off. And so that is, as far as my writing goes and my blog goes, that is my history. That's where I am today. And I'm not sure what kind of questions you have. I know that starting your blog can be a little bit unnerving. What do you write about? What's your message? Who are you trying to reach? And so my advice on that is whatever lights you up. I mean, maybe you're doing something for school, so maybe it's about your major, or maybe it's fashion design or automotive repair. Whatever it is that you are choosing to write about, there are people out there that want to read it. They want the information. They love the way that you can portray it to them. And so it's just about creating a platform that's clean. I think a lot of people like to be able to get to information cleanly, and then like real and open and honest. So being who you are, being authentic to the things that you believe in and the things that you like, or your particular type of fashion, or I think being authentic and having a clear purpose on what your blog is going to bring more readership. So even in the coaching business, I need to be clear on who my ideal client is. When I'm blogging, I need to be clear on who my ideal reader is. So I think that that's really helpful. And then leveraging things like Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, linking them to your account. Every single time I post on my blog or I have an article that's published, I link it to all 3. I have a professional page, a private page, and my Instagram page. So I link it to all 3, and then I share relevant hashtags of the people that you want to reach you. I know some people hashtag like a million things, and sometimes I do that and sometimes I don't, but at least getting it out there so that people who are looking for that particular niche can find you. Because if you just create a blog and then you leave it there and you tell your friends about it, only your friends are going to read it. And so you want to be able to get more and more people getting to your work. And if you have a huge following on Instagram, that's great. I also would encourage you to not really care about how many people are following you on those things or how many people are liking your work on those things, because I can't tell you how many people I've run into at a store, or I coach CrossFit as well. So at the gym, or even just in emails that reach out to me and tell me that they love my work or they love what I'm posting and it's helped them in a particular way, but they never like a single thing that I post. And guys do that specifically. Guys won't like my post, but then they'll talk to me about how it was really helpful or how it made them think. So don't get hung up on if people aren't liking your posts or reading them. I mean, just keep writing, keep putting yourself out there for that, because it's an easy way to deter you if you like getting that kind of validation and feedback. And so I guess at the end of it, I am continuing to blog. I actually was just working on one before you guys came, or I came on here. But I use different, like I said, I use different outlets. I use newsletters now. I use my social media, and then I'm going to start linking them all in, because there's only so much writing that you can do before you kind of run out of juice. I think that's kind of it on how I got started and how I've just started to gain traction and use social media. You make connections with people. If you're just putting yourself out there, like other people's blogs, comment on their things, like, get engaged with them, because once you get engaged with somebody or follow them, they're more likely to look at your page or your website, and do the same for you. And so I think the biggest thing is it can feel like it's this lonely world when you're posting online, but it's actually, it's a network. We're trying to connect with people. And so we don't just put stuff out there. You want to make sure you're engaging and communicating with other people, and getting them to go back to your blog so that they can read the awesome work that you put out. So that is what I have for that. I don't know if you guys have any questions for me.
Thank you, Kristen. By the way, I like the language you use, because you use the language of relationship, which is kind of the premise from which we talk about writing at all. And when we're in electronic environments and talking about digital writing, we're still talking about relationships. So I appreciated some of your words like connection, relevance, putting yourself out there, being authentic. I did put some notes in the chat and a couple of notes on our class hashtag.
So you said that there will always be like people out there or an audience that wants to hear what you have to talk about or wants to listen. But how would you suggest finding that audience? Like, what's the best way to like identify your audience, like who you want to talk to? Or like, how did you find your audience?
I think the first thing that I did was I just kept like putting my own, I love the word authentic, so I'll use it, but I just kept putting my own authentic work out there. And then at least in my like circle of like my current network of friends and family and like acquaintances that knew me on social media, they started to weed themselves out. And then what I started to do after that was using things like hashtags and sharing in certain like Facebook groups. I don't know if you guys use Facebook a lot, but using hashtags a lot and sharing, going to different people's pages, growing relationships with them, and then asking them to share your work is also, I think on Instagram it's called like a share for share or something. So you share somebody's work and they share yours, to get it to, if you know that their audience is kind of your intended audience. But I didn't know who I was trying to reach until after about a year and a half of blogging, but I wasn't clear. So I had the nutrition piece and I had the mindset piece, but people just started, they started to follow me, and then they also started to tell me or tell their friends about my writing. So I have a lot of people that currently are reaching out to me, like in my coaching business, that I never had an idea were following my writing, but have been for well over 6 months to a year. So it's just like friends of friends start to, and that's how I started to find my audience. And then it's just staying, like I said, trying to I always use hashtags because that's like the easiest way, but even on Twitter or LinkedIn, things of that nature, finding networks of people who are doing what you're doing. And that's your first way. See who's watching them, and then you'll know who wants to watch you.
What's your favorite social media that you like to use?
I like Instagram. I would say that is where I post almost everything on Instagram first, and then I share it to all my other pages, because I just feel like I get the most traction from posting there first. I just use Instagram, Facebook. I have a Twitter, but I haven't used it. I'm not really sure what else. I feel like I was pretty old. I'm not really sure what else is out there besides those.
I'm getting the impression from just listening to you all talk and listening to Kristen say that Instagram has definitely become the kind of pop social medium of choice at this point. But when you started, you would have said it was Facebook, right?
Yeah, I didn't really use it until I had used it a little bit, but maybe a year and a half ago, to like 2 years ago was when I really started to use Instagram. But it was just the WordPress blog and Facebook at first.
So since Instagram's limited to pictures, what kind of stuff do you typically put on your Instagram page?
So I do a lot of images with the blog underneath, or like a short blog underneath. I'll do snippets of longer videos that I record for, so vlogs that I'll call them. And then I'll take screenshots of something that I'm working on or the blog post, and I'll post that on Instagram with I'll usually do the link in bio, and then also write the link in the write-up in Instagram. So I often, I'll change, like right now, my current link is like kristenhubbard.com on my Instagram. I update it based on what I'm promoting in that post. And then once that's kind of been used for a couple of days, I'll always just go back to kristenhubbard.com. So people are linked to my blog and my website.
One of the points I hear you making, and again, like any relationship, you can't forget about it because it'll start to kind of dissolve. You really have to, like you said, keep it static and keep it relevant and keep it current. I think that's a really interesting point that you make about changing the link based on what the conversation of the day is or where you want to bring your audience. So you're kind of guiding your audience to where you want them to be in the conversation. I think that's really important.
Yeah, I definitely think staying in front of people is really important. And I've kind of gone back and forth, especially when I was going through my divorce. I stepped back a little bit from blogging and writing so much. And what I didn't realize is that people missed it and people would talk to me about it. But there is a point where they just kind of move on to the next thing. And so always staying current has been really helpful. And yeah, keeping the conversation current with where I'm sending them or where I'm directing them is good, because some days it's just really important that I want to get more views on the Elephant Journal link, or some days I want people to join my mailing list. And all of that is kind of what keeps me going as a blogger and an author and a coach. So, and I want to give people value. I think my purpose as a writer is to help people. So I want to always make sure I'm giving value to them.
Can we talk about that for a minute? Because some of these folks are entry-level bloggers. They may have never actually kept a blog before. They're doing this with a little bit of coercion because they kind of have to for the class, but they want it to be relevant. You said about putting yourself out there. I imagine there had to be a point where you had to kind of get over your fear of, is it good enough? How did you deal with that?
One lesson that I've learned is always to take imperfect action. So there was a time, I think, leading up to the blog where I was like, oh, I'm not ready for it. I'm not ready for it. And I think it was just like, it was the first blog that I wrote that was like, just do it. Just kind of put it out there. What I realized is that other people don't know what my best work is. Other people don't know what I could have done or what I could have written, or like how I feel about the piece. So people are just reading it where they're at. And so putting my work out there in a way that was just real to me in that moment, and just it's almost like gaining the muscles of like practicing over and over again. Like after the first time, it got easier and easier. And then I became more and more open with my audience about what I was going through or things like that. And it was always well received. If people don't like it, they don't tell me about it, which is fine, And if they did, I don't think I would really care that much at this point.
Something else you said earlier about, you had talked about your first blog, and you had talked about how you were kind of, you had a goal to create a business with it that didn't happen. I love that, because the whole idea of being able to be in a process that some parts of the process will fail. And there's a saying, fail fast. Meaning, that in a process you're supposed to fail, because then you learn from that failure and you grow with it. And one of the benefits of digital authorship is that you can go in and revise it. It can stay an ongoing process. It doesn't ever have to be permanent. Right. Unlike when you publish something in print, and then there's that, like my field study sits in the URI library with that one spelling mistake that I know is there on page 28, and it kills me. But I could go in and fix that in my blog. That's a little thing, but also I can change my ideas. They can evolve. Something can not be relevant anymore. I can take it out. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. And I do try now, like currently, or not currently, but like when I look back at my old writing, like there are parts that I'm like, oh, I wish that I hadn't written that. And so you do have that opportunity to go back, or you have an opportunity to be like, oh, it's evolved and I've changed. And so for me, the nutrition blog didn't pan out, but it was that next level to get to, the mindset blog, and just writing and putting yourself out there. And so it's always, always evolving, always changing, not being afraid to like rebrand yourself. If you really are thinking about blogging as something that you truly want to do, it's okay to say, before I thought that this is what I wanted to be, but now it's not. So I'm going to rebrand and go from there.
What do you see as some of your challenges that maybe you'd like to ask Kristen about as you're preparing to start this project?
I'll ask a question. How effective do you think hashtags actually are?
I think that they're helpful because they do at least give you access to some people that aren't currently following you or that wouldn't see it. I don't think that they're everything. Just like Facebook has algorithms to keep people from viewing your posts, Instagram kind of has similar things where if you use the same hashtag a lot, it won't be as visible in like the, I forget what the page is, but like the daily or the newest, like the latest feeds or whatever, or latest posts. And so I do it all the time because I know that there are people who have at least liked some, like if they've liked something once, then if I hashtag that again, they're likely to see it again. I try not to rest everything on the hashtags. I do try and go out and build the relationships and put my work out there in other ways, but it is helpful, but it's not everything, if that helps.
That's a great answer. You especially bringing up that point that the overuse of the hashtag minimalizes its effect. I don't think a lot of people know that.
I do try, sometimes I'll try and get creative with what I hashtag, or just even do like, if my hashtag is do the work, I'll just do hashtag do, hashtag the, hashtag work, and just see, you know, what happens. But I also think the better the image, the more, at least the more likes you're going to get, and the more likes that you get, the more visible it becomes to other people. So if you have a good image or a catchy image, that will get people to start reading your words.
So you said you're like not really active on Twitter, but I feel like Twitter is super popular to like get your point across, and hashtags are like huge on Twitter. So why don't you use that one?
I'm not opposed to it. I just am not, I don't really know how it works very well. So I've been thinking about, especially building a newer business, I've been thinking about actually going and like fostering and cultivating that page. Because I do know that it is one of the most popular forms of social media. So.
Yeah, I feel like they like invented the hashtag.
They did.
I think for me, like I'm so tied to like I'm wordy, like I'm super wordy. So when I write, I tend to write a lot, and making it concise and bringing it down to like, what is it, 16 words or something, or I don't know, or 144 characters. Yeah, like it's just, it baffled, like I'm, I don't know how to do that. So, but it would be good. It would, that's actually a great point. So I appreciate the question.
So one thing I learned when I was setting this up today, by the way, so I'm sitting in my office in Davis, and the windows behind me were putting me in the dark, like Joe is right now. So I had to put a lamp on my face so you could see me. Joe and Kevin look like they're like in the witness protection program right now. Thank you very much, Krista, for taking the time to talk to us today. I appreciate it. And we also got the opportunity to have our first class on Zoom. So it'll be fun to hear your reflections on the experience. I'm going to ask you to do two things for the class, for the benefit of the class. One is, as you're reflecting on the things that Kristen said and anything that you think was poignant or relevant to you, I would ask that you post them to our hashtag so we can keep the hashtag active and public and people can see what we're talking about and what we've learned. As far as reflecting on the experience of doing a Zoom class and a webinar experience, you could go to the Etherpad for that. And I hope you do both of those things, because I'm really, really interested in your ideas. Thank you very much. I'll see you all on Wednesday. And thank you again, Kristen.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.